Kindly remain standing as we invite now Pastor Travis Kurt Barras to move the invocation.
Shall we pray? Eternal Father, we thank you that we are here together. We understand, O God, the challenges around us. We understand, O God, what's pressing against our youth, our nation. But we are grateful this morning that we could meet under such capacities. Well, Lord, we could launch such an important program which will ensure that our young people realize that they could be resilient, where they could become empowered, and where our society, our nation can rise above the challenges at hand. We pray for this sitting. Allow it to be a blessing. And we pray, God, to your glory, that every aspect of this initiative shall be implemented in every corner where it is spoken of. And to your glory, we'll recognize a difference in our youth, a difference in the pattern that we're currently seeing. And we will be grateful once again for those who've recognized the need to invest such into our people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please be seated. Breathe. Her Ladyship, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Dame Janice Pereira, DBE, Acting Prime Minister, Honorable Sean Edward, Honorable Members of the Cabinet of St. Lucia, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Members of Parliament, distinguished representatives of the Diplomatic Corps, and I want to especially acknowledge Madam Ambassador of the United States to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS, the US Ambassador, as well as the USAID Head of Mission to the OECS, who are today's host for our launch activity. Permanent Secretaries, Commissioner of Police, Heads of Regional Organizations, Chief Magistrate, other distinguished representatives of the public sector, business leaders, private sector, and of course, civil society, distinguished representatives and leaders of the National Youth Council and youth-led agencies here on St. Lucia, teachers, school students, members of the media, and other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to indeed welcome you to today's launch of this wonderful activity, one that will involve young people at its core. The launch of the Caribbean Basin Security Initiatives Program, the CBSI, 3 programs here in St. Lucia. My name is John Emmanuel, but first I want to introduce you to my co-host. My co-host is Krista Setange. Krista is a St. Lucian gender equality and women's empowerment activist, author, writer, and poet. She served as valedictorian at the South Louis Community College's first virtual graduation back in 2020, and as Miss Duty Free Point Seraphim at last year's National Carnival Queen Pageant. My beautiful co-host, Krista Setange.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, John.
Ladies and gentlemen, my co-chair, John Emmanuel, is a regionally trained and certified journalist and broadcaster with well over 2 decades of media, public relations, corporate communications, and marketing experience to his credit. John has worked the full spectrum of media. He has a robust and trusted reputation for being dedicated, determined, and dependable. Before proceeding further, we want to acknowledge the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Band and Pastor Travis Barons, St. Lucia Mission of Seventh-day Adventist, for their support to opening formalities. Our launch will feature the 3 Caribbean Basin Security Initiative CBSI programs in St. Lucia. These are the Eastern and Southern Caribbean Opportunities to Advance and Support Youth for Success, OASIS, that will focus on increasing the diversion options and custodial sentences. supporting rehabilitation, re-entry, and positive reintegration of post-incarcerated youth. The Youth Resilience, Inclusion, and Empowerment Activity for St. Lucia, known as WIRE, that seeks to enhance citizens' resilience to crime and violence, and the Carry Secure 2.0 activity that will increase the use of evidence-based decision-making for youth crime and violence prevention, and implement reduction strategies to respond to human trafficking while increasing prosecution efforts. Today, we will learn more about how and what these initiatives expect to contribute for young people and citizens in evidence-based programs. The goal is to build and sustain localized solutions, data, and systems for managing crime and violence.
Thank you. Now, it's not for Krista and I to sit here, or to stand here, in fact, and to give you a whole rundown as to how the programs will unfold. Our job is simple. It is to invite the various speakers who will tell you more as to what is going to happen. You'll realize that young people will be at the core of all of these initiatives. And one of the agencies involved with young people for eons has been that of the United States Agency for International Development, the USAID. In fact, for more than 40 years, the USAID has been a significant partner in the Eastern and Southern Caribbean, advancing the interests of safer and more prosperous Caribbean communities. Incidents of crime and violence disproportionately affect young people not only in St. Lucia, but in other parts of the Caribbean. Amidst continuing and escalating concerns about youth involvement in violent crime, not just as perpetrators, but also as victims, I'm sure all of us want to know what and how it is going to be done that we can restore increased youth connections, belongings, and positive contributions. To help us do that, I now want to call on to address us the representative from USAID. She is Sarah Walter. She's been working in the Caribbean for a number of years. I'll give you a bit about her in a little while, but now I want to turn the attention on to Ms. Sarah Walter, our first speaker in today's program. Ms. Walter.
Good morning. It's just really great to see all of you here today. So please allow me to adopt the protocol that's already been established. I'll be providing here a little more technical detail and background on the three projects that we will be discussing today. But I would like to start off with a thought from Havelock Ellis, the physician, the writer, the social reformer, who once said, "We must live in the future we hope to make." I think that's really shrewd advice for all development projects, and it's especially insightful when it comes to programs involving young people. But the United States government, through the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has, as was mentioned, a very long history in St. Lucia, and indeed throughout the Caribbean. We form partnerships with governments, with citizens, with representatives, civil society, and private sector in order to bring about a better future by supporting health, by supporting economic growth, climate resilience, disaster preparedness and response, and citizen security. It is indeed unfortunate that over the last 5 years, we've seen an increase in crime and violence, and that's affecting the lives of young people globally. In partnership with St. Lucia's government, its private sector, civil society organizations, and youth itself, and in cooperation with other international development agencies, we've responded to this challenge by designing 3 assistance programs, as you've heard, each of which responds to one of the development priorities and challenges that we face today. Now, USAID believes strongly in a consultative approach. The lived experiences of St. Lucia's citizens, their aspirations, their expertise, their priorities, they all shape the response to development challenges to make them more equitable, more inclusive, and particularly more sustainable. Therefore, the USAID-funded programs I'm going to describe were designed with the active participation of St. Lucia's people and the active participation of St. Lucia's youth. So after consulting a wide range of organizations and individuals in St. Lucia about their concerns and goals, We're pleased now to describe these 3 new projects designed to improve the life chances of young St. Lucians, especially those who've made a shaky start. So first, the Carry Secure 2.0 project will reduce human trafficking, affecting young people who are trafficked by criminal organizations. The United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, will be implementing this project, and they will work with various agencies in St. Lucia to improve their ability to identify and investigate and to prosecute cases of human trafficking. This project will support policies and interventions that protect vulnerable populations, that reduce crimes that exploit and dehumanize victims for profit, and that hold perpetrators accountable and responsible for what they've done. Secondly, come 2 youth-specific, youth-focused projects. Now, why youth? Well, young people between the ages of 15 and 24 are really at the heart of USAID programs. They are the future we especially want to shape. The Youth Resilience, Inclusion, and Empowerment Program, or WIRE as we call it, will be implemented by the firm DAI, Development Associates International, and it will work with young people and their families, both within their communities and with national government and other partners. That's going to reduce youth involvement in crime and violence. By working with youth who are at a higher risk of engaging in crime and violence, the WIRE program aims to steer young people towards more productive pathways. The program will work closely with the government of St. Lucia to improve the social services that its agencies provide to at-risk youth. Partnerships with government agencies, private sector entities, and non-government organizations will improve education, will improve job training, and improve youth employment chances. Working with youth and partners in all communities, WIRE will also encourage changed attitudes and behaviors towards violence and improved community responses to violence. The third project that we'll discuss today is Opportunities to Advance and Support Youth for Success, or OASIS. That will focus on juvenile justice reform. The commission of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Commission, or the OECS Commission, will be implementing this program. Now, we congratulate the government of St. Lucia for having passed legislation that supports a rehabilitative approach to dealing with children who've become involved with the formal justice system. The OASIS program will build on the work that was done under our previous juvenile justice reform project, and it will assist St. Lucia with the task of fully implementing its child justice and protection laws. I'd like to end, as I began, with a few more words from Havelock Ellis, that education, whatever else it should or should not be, must be an inoculation against the poisons of life, and an adequate equipment in knowledge and skill for meeting the chances of life. So, let's see the combined educational impact of these 3 programs as a great opportunity for us all to improve the life chances of St. Lucians while improving safety and security on the island. I want to give a word of sincere thanks to our implementing partners, to the OECS Commission, and to the UNDP, and to DAI. These partners each have a long, long history in development assistance, and USAID is very pleased to work with them, and especially with the government and the people of St. Lucia. We are sharing a vision here for this country's youth with the resources it needs to realize its full potential and make a positive contribution to the nation and the world. Thank you.
Of course, Ms. Walter is a career member of the Senior Foreign Service with more than 30 years' experience in international development, shaping U.S. foreign assistance policy, and motivating and mentoring staff to excel. She has served USAID in South and Southeast Asia, Latin America, West Africa, the Central Asian Republics, the Middle East, and the former Soviet Union. She was appointed to the Caribbean in November 2022. Thank you, Ms. Walter, for those remarks and for the continued support and cooperation of USAID, to our shared goals for a resilient, safe, and prosperous society. WIRI expects to contribute toward positive youth development for young people between the ages of 10 and 29 in St. Lucia, using the public health approach to violence prevention in evidence-based programs co-created by government, young people, and other partners working collaboratively. The Ministry of Youth and Sports will be a fundamental partner to the WIRI activity. According to their 2018 to 2023 policy, the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports is responsible for 60% of our population under the age of 30. Their vision is every young person is respected and valued, is supported in building fulfilling connections and competencies to lead to a productive life, and in developing the innate talents to benefit themselves and the society. I am pleased to welcome Ms. Mary Wilfred, Deputy Permanent Secretary, to deliver remarks on behalf of the Honorable Minister Kenson Casimir.
Thank you, Krista. Permit me also to adopt the protocol that has already been established. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports is pleased to partner with the Youth Resilience and Empowerment Program, WIRI, to advance the goals and objectives of building peaceful communities within our developing nation. This program has come at a very opportune time for us at the ministry, as the Commonwealth has declared 2023 as the Year of Youth under the theme, Forging a Sustainable and Peaceful Common Future. Therefore, WIRI is in complete alignment with our major focus for the Year of Youth as we honor the Commonwealth Declaration, embracing our own theme of safety, security, and peaceful coexistence. This is the goal: to empower young people and communities to act as agents of peaceful and safe national coexistence. WIRI is underpinned by the positive youth development approach, which emphasizes providing services and opportunities to support all young people in developing their competence, their confidence, their character, their connections, and caring attributes. This youth development approach posits that all young people should be viewed as valued and a respected asset to the society. Thus, as we forge this partnership, the ideal is to support and provide opportunities for young people to build skills, to exercise leadership as they help their communities. We are convinced that this approach is holistic, it's preventative and positive, and should unleash the assets and competencies in all our young people throughout the targeted communities to act as agents of change, agents of peace. It is our hope that through this partnership, we will promote the genuine engagement of young men and women in making communities vibrant and effective spaces for them to flourish and for them to respond to the needs, the challenges, and experiences of young men and women through a participatory development process. A major outcome we expect from this relationship is the gathering of empirical data, which will contribute in further shaping our youth development process here in a more scientific manner, so that we can share that data globally and regionally with our key partners and stakeholders. Moreover, we believe that this program will afford us the opportunity to derive data that will strengthen and increase our capacity as an institution and will make our work more effective in the communities. Commonwealth Secretary General, the Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, QC, said, and I quote, "Young people are indispensable to delivering a future that is more just, inclusive, sustainable, and resilient. By measuring their contributions and needs with hard data, our advocacy for their development becomes more powerful, and we are then able to incrementally increase the positive impact and benefits you are able to add towards building a better future for us all," end of quote. On behalf of the Minister, Honorable Kenson Kasmir, and the staff of the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, let me reiterate our commitment to the WIRI program and pledge our support to ensure our young people are empowered to become architects of peace in the spaces they occupy to contribute to our sustainability on this planet. Thank you, and as I usually say at the ministry, WIRI, IRI.
Thank you, Madam DPS. Your comments were appropriate. You indicated a role for young people as partners and co-creators of our national development. Positive outcomes, reduced risk, and behavioral transformation, they all depend on a shared and accountable ecosystem arrangement. And as such, I now have the pleasure to invite the Honorable Joachim Henry, Minister for Equity, Social Justice, and Empowerment, to address us. I happen to know this minister very well, and I can tell you, he's quite passionate about young people, in particular, youth at risk, in particular, the marginalized. He is keen on seeing that they become empowered. At this point, I want to call on the minister to tell us how his ministry, the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, and Empowerment, intends to play a critical role as we move some of these processes forward, particularly the OASIS project. Minister Joachim Henry, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Acting Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Edwards, her leadership, Chief Justice Dame Janice Pereira, DBA, other members of Cabinet, Leader of Opposition, Permanent Secretaries, members of the Senate, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Commissioner of Police, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning to every one of you. And let me continue to celebrate our 44th independence and wish all of you a happy independence. It is a beautiful time to be in St. Lucia. This morning, I am indeed pleased and delighted at the occasion which has caused us to be here. And I feel honored as the Minister for Equity, Social Justice, and Empowerment to share some brief thoughts on the relevance of interventions such as these within our context, as well as my expectation for project implementation that is purposeful and impactful, and that fills identified gaps within our system structures and clearly brings some desired changes. As I understand, there are 3 project areas financed by USAID, and it will be implemented within the next few years. Carry Secure. I think we also have the WIRI as well as the OASIS. And of course, my ministry will be responsible or will be the focal point for this part of the program. The Oasis, which will build upon the gains of the Juvenile Justice Reform Project, and of course this was funded by USAID some time ago, while addressing some of the existing gaps as we continue to strengthen our juvenile justice system. No doubt these are relevant and timely interventions, and I thank the United States Agency for International Development and other partners for this intervention in our people. As we know, St. Lucia struggles with a number of social challenges at this time, high rates of crime and violence not being the least among them. As we have also witnessed such incidents of crime and violence disproportionately affect our young people, and is a major concern for me personally and for my ministry as well. In this regard, I welcome those projects and particularly note the ministry's role as a focal point for the Oasis project, which is being administered through the OECS Commission. As the ministry continues to make its contribution consistent with its mandate, I am pleased to say that we have designed several new initiatives to be implemented through the St. Lucia Social Development Fund and other units and agencies of the ministry to meaningfully engage and empower people for self-development. We have also assessed ongoing programs with a view to strengthening them. Ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, the government of St. Lucia believes in the support, the development of the island's human capital as a part of National Development Trust, and has within the past year increased investments in this regard. Additionally, with the assistance of donor agencies, the Ministry of Equity is engaged in various activities towards strengthening the social protection system, enhancing the technical competencies of the social protection practitioners to effectively deliver social programs, strengthening data management systems and processes, establishing community psychosocial support systems, facilitating youth and community resilience, building interventions, implementing rehabilitation and reintegration programs, and strengthening aftercare programs, among others. But as I sift through the information available to me now, I recognize that many of those ongoing and planned projects and programs under my ministry share similar objectives with Carry Secure, YRE, and Oasis, and I believe that this may be the same with other ministries and agencies. Against this backdrop, ladies and gentlemen, and mindful of scarce resources, I ask that we, through a process of dialogue and consultation, carefully deliberate on the critical needs to be addressed and how we intend to address them, as well as to also recognize and take cognizant and advantage and the synergistic opportunities presented with these project implementation environment. Within that context, I also urge a recognition of the critical role of non-state actors, the non-government organization, community-based organization, as well as faith-based organizations, the private sector and others, and the need for close collaboration and to coordinate these activities in that regard. So let us work together as we synthesize our thoughts and ideas, amend our processes and procedures, and jointly implement those programs and interventions to benefit our brothers and sisters and our beautiful island, St. Lucia. Only yesterday, we met with a partner, the Caribbean Development Bank, and we visited the much-needed location for a new juvenile, a holding place, a center for juveniles. And of course, only last night, by a person that this discussion started with way back, Miss Heraldine Rock, my predecessor of many, many, many years ago when I was a child, to see about our juvenile center, which is located in Grosley. I'm happy at this time to report, even in this gathering, that we have plans way ahead to realize this transformation of our juvenile system, our juvenile home, our place for our wards, our place for our young girls, and not just rehabilitation, but a care and training center of the highest level. With much anticipation and the commitment of my ministry, I look forward to a successful implementation of all projects as we continue to provide opportunities for young people to reach the full potential in the Helen of the West Indies. I thank you, and may God bless all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. We've been talking a lot about the young people, their energies, their abilities, their talents. Well, now is the time to see some of that. And I want to call on Youth on Fire Movement to do a rendition entitled One Day. Youth on Fire Movement.
I don't want to act so high and mighty, 'cause tomorrow I may fall down on my face. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful day. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful day. Ooh. Na 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 na.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it will all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose. We all lose when they feed on the souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched pavement, keep on moving though the waters stay raging. In this maze, you may lose your way, your way. They might drive you crazy, but don't let them phase you, no way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it will all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and we'll play one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change, treat people the same, stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like woyo, 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 woyo. my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Ooh, na 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 na. Thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful day. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, one day, one day, it's a beautiful day, one day.
Well-deserved applause. Thank you, Youth on Fire movement. Our next speaker, the Honorable Dr. Virginia Aberpoyot, has had a long and stellar career in education. She has served in various positions of responsibility nationally and regionally. Dr. Aberpoyot will share remarks on the government's partnership agenda with Carry Secure 2.0. Let's welcome her on.
Let me recognize the protocol that has been established and say good morning to all. This morning, I am here with some mixed feelings, which I really the audience, and I am happy that my two colleagues who preceded me spoke heavily on prevention, and that is the most important thing in our society. We need to prevent criminal activities rather than trying to treat them or try to cure them. But I am in the area where we deal with the treatment and cure. So I will be happy to see how this program will help us deal with the treatment. Today, I will focus on the affairs of home, the Department of Home Affairs, because I'm responsible for the public service, home affairs, labor, and gender affairs. So let us deal with the home affairs. And under the home affairs, we have the administration of the police, dealing with marine and immigration, the correctional facility, that's Bordelais, the fire service, we have probation and parole, and the Prime Minister has given directive to establish a unit called Youth at Risk. And this unit is primarily responsible for coordinating all activities relating to young persons from the different government agencies to prevent them from crossing the line. And for your information, what is sad here is when we speak to crime, we look at the situation at the Bordelais Correctional Facility, and what we have noticed is that the age range keeps going down. So it means that our young people are the most vulnerable. They are the ones that are populating our correctional facility. And therefore, we need the preventative mode. And by statistics, we have about 544 inmates right now. And interestingly, only 14 of them are female. So when we target youth, we know what direction we have to address the situation. Most of them are on remand. So it means the justice system the wheel of justice is a little too slow. For the program that will be implemented here between 2022 and 2026, for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean Multi-Country Office and looking at a budget of $12.5 million, the component of this project which falls under my watch deals with Carrie Shaw. And we are looking at reduction in youth involvement in crime and violence and strengthening country trafficking of persons efforts in the Caribbean. While we talk about free movement, while we are talking about trafficking of persons, in the same vein, in the Caribbean, we are talking about free movement. So we have a very difficult task on our hand. How do you move freely? And at the same time, we have to control and find out who is doing trafficking. We have to identify the root causes of youth crime and design policies, strategies, programs, and interventions. The 2.0 Carrie Shaw program will bolster state capacity to identify, screen, investigate, and prosecute trafficking cases and provide resources and technical support to Barbados, Trinidad, and St. Lucia. So this is the component of the project that the Home Affairs Department will be participating in. The expected results, we are looking at regional, national, and local organizations using evidence-based decision-making for youth crime and violence prevention, and implementing reduction strategies to respond to human trafficking while increasing prosecution efforts. We, the government of St. Lucia, and specifically the Department of Home Affairs, welcome the support, and it will definitely help us complete the equation in combating crime in St. Lucia and the Caribbean. As Minister with responsibility for Home Affairs, I need to inform the audience that sometimes we only talk about crime with regards to the police or weapons or drug trafficking. But we have to look at the human side of our law enforcement officers. And for your information, during the last 18 months, this government has purchased equipment, motor vehicles, upgrade and promote the law enforcement officers, recruit new officers, repairs to the fire and police stations, repair to the Borderley Correctional Facility, establish the Youth at Risk Unit. We are starting the construction of the divisional headquarters in the Grosile community to the tune of $35 million. We are repairing the divisional headquarters in the south of the island, in Vieux-Fort. We have introduced new management systems in the borders of St. Lucia at every port. We have just, up to yesterday, had a seamless entry process with online ED forms. Introduced the electronic passport. We are in the process of establishing the Border Control Agency. We do not manufacture guns, but here St. Lucia is becoming a haven for firearms. Where are they coming from? Who is bringing them here? And this is the challenge that we have. I say all this to establish the point that in spite of the economic challenges we face coming out of the setbacks created by COVID-19 and the lack of support to national security by the last administration, this government has so far invested a large percentage of its limited resources to secure our country and protect our neighbors in the Caribbean, including the USA. This time, there is need for greater collaboration. It is time for it. And it has to be yesterday, not today, far less tomorrow. And that is the urgency that we have in dealing with criminal activities in our country. Let us work together for us to create a safer, more secure, and peaceful environment where humans will grow to love and appreciate each other and make meaningful and positive contribution to national development. My department pledges to work in collaboration with our partners to ensure that this project is a success and we will realize our goals. However, we must not forget there is an elephant in the room. And that elephant came in over 10 years ago. And this is the imposition of the Leahy Law on the entire security forces in St. Lucia. And I am pleased to note that gradually we are seeing a departure, an improvement, because that has been an indictment in terms of security in our own country. When we deny our officers opportunities for training, we are killing the entire system. And therefore, in keeping with looking at the way forward, we are working with our partners. We want to work with the USA so that we can provide opportunities for training for our law enforcement officers. And what we are experiencing today in terms of an increase in criminal activities, part of it is because we are not able to treat it. We are not able to cure it because our officers are lacking in training. And for your benefit, I can share it here because it is public knowledge that when this government came in, when we look at the budget allocation that was done for law enforcement officers, we saw a zero allocation. But I'm pleased to inform you that this government, the Prime Minister with responsibility for national security, has included funds in the budget for training. And most of our officers have started receiving training for our officers. And this is what we call building capacity, the human resource capacity. And I have said it time and time again, too many times we treat our law enforcement officers as robots. We have to treat them as human beings. They have feelings like everybody else. They have families, they have friends, they have neighbors, and they have to live in the neighborhood. So we have to focus on the human resource capacity of these officers. We have to train them. We have to give them decent working conditions for them to perform. And we cannot do it in isolation. And therefore, I will welcome every opportunity that we get, all the support that we can get to improve the capacity of our law enforcement officers, those who protect us, those who try to make us safe, and the contribution coming from our partners will be most welcome. We will do our best to ensure that we create a safe, secure, and peaceful environment for all St. Lucians, those in the region, those in the north, those in the south, those in the east, and those in the west. We have to be a happy family. We have to be happy living individuals for us to be protective. I thank you.
Slight program change. Thank you, Madam Minister, for your kind words. At this point, I want to call on the United States Ambassador to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS to address us, Ambassador Linda Tagliatella-Taylor. Ambassador Linda Tagliatella-Taylor has been ambassador to the Eastern Caribbean and the OECS since December 2015. She began her government career as a management analyst. She has received numerous awards and recognition for her performance, including in 2004 and 2014, a Meritorious Presidential Rank Award, and in 2008, the Distinguished Presidential Rank Award. I invite the United States Ambassador to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS, Ambassador Linda Tagliatella-Taylor.
Protocol having been established, I will proceed. First of all, good morning to all of you. It is a true pleasure to be here to celebrate the 44th anniversary of St. Lucia's independence. There could not be a more fitting opportunity to be here also to launch programs from USAID. I'm especially happy to be here to celebrate with the young St. Lucians. There are so many of you in the audience, and it's delightful to see all of you. Your immense creativity, strength, and resilience inspires me, and I look at you as the future of St. Lucia and know that they're in good hands. The United States and St. Lucia share the same democratic values, including the commitment to create a safe, prosperous, and resilient Caribbean region. In that spirit, I am pleased to participate in the launch of these 3 new USAID projects: CARA Secure 2.0, Youth Resilience, Inclusion, and Empowerment, and opportunities to advance and support youth success. Each of the teams responsible for these projects will work with the young people, partners in the government, the private sector, and others to help reduce crime and violence in St. Lucia. These programs are the results of many conversations and working sessions that our partners have held over the last several months with people from all over St. Lucia, many of whom are in this audience today. We've heard you say that investing in young people is a priority. We've heard you say that the youth economy and empowerment of St. Lucia's young people is key to the continued development of this country and the entire Caribbean. What you have said is reflected in the design of these programs, which, with hard work, collaboration, and dedication, will lead to real-life solutions to these issues. UNICEF figures show that in 2016, 20% of boys and 21% of girls in St. Lucia dropped out of school before reaching the upper secondary level. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, 46% of the youth were unemployed. This is 3 times the adult rate of unemployment. In addition, violence in schools and communities continue to increase. These are the very real challenges that exist and influence a young person's mental and physical well-being, as well as their ability to enjoy a healthy, successful, and happy existence to which we all aspire. I'm sure you're familiar with the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. This is true no matter where you are in St. Lucia, be it in Rodney Bay or Rousseau, VG or Vieux-Fort. It's all the same. All of us need to do our part to ensure that every child in St. Lucia is given the opportunity to develop into a responsible human being and contribute to their country's future successes. Over the next few years, these USA programs will engage partners in the government, in social, justice, and security sectors, communities and families, and most importantly, with the youth. The programs will focus on those youth who are most at risk and engage them not just in passive recipients of assistance, but to discover and develop their skills and abilities, to provide opportunities for them to use those skills, and to support their development into responsible, productive adults. My entire team looks forward to working with you to see these programs successfully implemented to make tangible impact on the lives of these young people and to support safe and prosperous and resilient communities in St. Lucia and the entire Caribbean. I wish all the program partners and their participants the greatest success. The challenges being faced today are too important to settle for anything less. Thank you for your participation and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador, Ambassador Linda Tagliala-Taylor. At this point, I want to now focus on the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Finance and the Youth Economy. This ministry will play key roles in terms of its partnering and co-implementing the overall USAID technical assistance agenda for St. Lucia. I now want to call to address you the Acting Prime Minister in the person of Sean Edward. Honorable Sean Edward functions effectively as the Minister for Education, Sustainable Development, Youth, no, I mentioned youth, not youth, the Minister for Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocational Training. He's currently serving as Acting Prime Minister. Honorable Sean Edwards is a senior government minister and a 3-time Member of Parliament for Dennery North. But get this, the Honorable Sean Edwards is a former St. Lucia and Windward Islands youth cricketer and team manager. Ladies and gentlemen, the Acting Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Edwards.
For a moment, I thought John wanted to add to my already lengthy portfolio. But it was a pleasure when I served in the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports as Minister between the years 2011 and 2016. Very, very fond memories. Permit me to adopt a truncated version of the protocol that was already established this morning. I want to acknowledge the presence of Her Ladyship, Chief Justice, Dame Janice Pereira, cabinet colleagues in the persons of Minister Baptiste, who leads the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Virginia Albert Poyet, from whom we heard a short while ago in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Public Service, Gender, Labor, etc., Minister Henry and his wife, Mrs. Henry, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, who basically shoulders the responsibilities of education with me on a daily basis, Senator Dr. Pauline Antoine Prosper, Leader of the Opposition and Parliamentary Representative for Micoud South, the Honorable Alan Chasney, U.S. Ambassador, other ambassadors and excellencies of the diplomatic community, representatives of the OECS Commission and other collaborating agencies, senior government officials, U.S. and St. Lucia, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, I must acknowledge the presence of the students who are in our midst. And I have a bias towards the students because on a daily basis, it is my ministerial responsibility to ensure that approximately 25,000 of them are safe and are receiving an education complements the government of St. Lucia and agencies, an education that will make them global citizens, and also when they gravitate into the world of work, they will be taking their rightful places to make St. Lucia a better place for all. It is with much enthusiasm I address you this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 programs being launched this morning speak to an alignment of vision and action. Whether we consider each one individually or together as cords strengthening the fabric of our society, we will all agree that these interventions down to the betterment of the young people of this country. When our young people are themselves successful, our country flourishes. When our youth are engaged, given alternative pathways, and are provided with avenues and interventions that address their needs, as a country, we know we are doing the right things. That we are taking the necessary corrective action, critical to reducing youth unemployment, underemployment, reducing crime, developing skills, and setting up our young people for success. The program being launched today underpins the concept of the youth economy. They are pillars which support the perceived outcomes of the youth economy as an area of programming for the government of St. Lucia. The opportunities to advance and support Youth for Success program can be viewed as an extension of the 2016 to 2022 USAID-funded Juvenile Justice Reform Program 2, as it seeks to address residual gaps which still exist in our system today. If OASIS is able to bring into sharp focus and address matters of diversion of youth from the court into programs and alternative sentencing approaches, we will be well positioned as a country to secure the future of our young people. As the Minister of Education leading a ministry which is on the cusp of one of the biggest transformations in education in recent times, this intervention confirms, at least to me, that the decision to transform some schools into technical and vocational institutes is indeed a right decision to make at this particular point in time. Noting that USAID under OASIS recognizes vocational training as an alternative sentencing option, I pledge my ministry's support for this intervention and look forward to working alongside the implementing agencies to deliver on this objective of youth success. Ladies and gentlemen, sadly, St. Lucia's homicide rate per 100,000 is alarming. And in a 2019 review of select countries, we ranked second only to Trinidad and Tobago in the region. As a small island developing state with a population of just over 180,000 people, we cannot, with all good conscience, allow our young people, especially our young males, to fall through the cracks into violence, drugs, and crime. Your Excellency Ambassador Tagliatella, the Youth Resilience, Inclusion, and Empowerment Program could not have come at a more opportune time. This at a time when we grapple with deviant behavior in schools, at our detention centers, within our families, and in the communities around our country. This initiative will better synchronize the processes and relationships between our social services and justice institutions. I am particularly interested in the objectives of improved educational outcomes among at-risk youth and the provision of psychosocial support for this same demographic. A lot of our children or students come from homes that are dysfunctional. And when they get into the school space, some of the behaviors that they exhibit reflect the realities at home. And as educators, we have to make decisions on an hourly basis in terms of the interventions that can help correct some of the deviant behaviors we see being exhibited in the classroom. Do we take a hardline position and cast them aside? Or do we resort to an approach where we provide psychosocial support and at different intervals we would have to take positions that would make them understand that irrespective of your socio-economic background, there are consequences to behavior. These are extremely important indicators if we as a country are to realize positive returns on the current investment being made in the youth of our nation. The undertakings under this program are intertwined with those under OASIS, as both initiatives seek to develop the skill sets that will support workforce development and increase productivity, key factors germane to economic growth and development. As early as 2018, discussions were ongoing between UNDP and Carry Secure and the Department of Home Affairs to set up the Carry Secure Task Force. I am pleased that in 2023, with funding to the tune of a little over $12 million, we can commence activities that will reduce youth involvement in crime and violence and mitigate human trafficking efforts in our Caribbean space. This regional collaboration will fortify the capacities of our youth-serving institutions in the region, harmonizing our strategies, programs, and interventions. This investment, financial and technical, that St. Lucia will receive for the identification, screening, and prosecuting of trafficking cases will augur for a decline in youth crime, violence prevention, and increasing prosecution efforts. The interconnectivity of the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative Program moves us as a region away from insular and siloed approaches to managing the similar issues that plague our islands individually. This common approach for these three initiatives will strengthen our capacity as a region to make evidence-based decisions on matters of youth, crime, drugs, and overall citizen security, which in the long run will lead to a decline in criminal activity, especially among our youth, and increase in productivity, employability, and the overall self-development of the young people of our country. The government and people of St. Lucia extend our gratitude to the American people who, through USAID and the implementing partners, the OECS Commission, provided the funding for this suite of programs which can only enhance our capacity, especially in the reduction of crime and improved citizen security. For that, we are most grateful as a people. As I conclude, I want to leave you with something to ruminate on. And it is a quote from Jane Addams. She was an American activist and the second woman ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize. She said, "The good we secure for ourselves is precarious and uncertain until it is secured for all of us and incorporated into our common life." I am of the firm belief that this is, in essence, the overarching goal of these free Caribbean Basin Security Initiative programs being espoused here today. If well implemented and the reforms incorporated in our daily lives, the good we cherish will be secured not just for ourselves, but for all of us. We have a problem on our hands as a country, and it's a problem that has manifested itself across the region as it relates to our young people and the deviant behaviors they continue to exhibit on a daily basis. Intervention like what is being presented here today would not have been possible without the support of friendly governments and agencies that are external to our shores. It is in building and solidifying relationships with the United States government, UNDP, etc., that we can make strides at a pace that ordinarily we would not have been able to make on our own because of the resource constraints we currently face as a government. It is important for the different agencies representing the government of St. Lucia to work collaboratively to ensure that we maximize on the outcomes of the programs being presented to us today. It would be remiss of me not to place on the record the gratitude of the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Prime Minister, who is currently off-island attending to state matters. It would be remiss of me not to express his own personal gratitude to the government and people of the United States of America for this particular intervention. I am hoping that by the end of the program, St. Lucia will be a much better place as a result of the interventions we've outlined to address some of the issues that confront our young people. Thank you very much, and let us enjoy the rest of today.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. At this stage, it is my pleasure to pass the reins to Yakub Nestor for the closing remarks. Yakub is a USAID ESC Youth Council's member for St. Lucia. He is an active member of the St. Lucia National Youth Council and is a fervent youth and community activist. Yakub works as a vision and education support teacher. Everybody, Yakub Nestor.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Madam and Mr. Co-Chair, Honorable Sean Edwards, Honorable Joachim Henry, Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyet, Ambassador Tagliela Teller, and other distinguished speakers, honored dignitaries, special guests, young women and men, school children. My singular privilege today is to acknowledge the importance of this launch of the 3 CBSI-funded programs under the technical and financial oversight of the USAID, and the critical role of the government of St. Lucia in assigning resources, time, and commitment to achieve impactful implementation to benefit all citizens. From available data, we know that crime is primarily the outcome of multiple adverse social, cultural, family, and economic conditions. We are all heartened by your government's efforts, including through the Youth Economy Project, to remedy the economic stagnation affecting young people in the country. Honorable Joachim Henry, Honorable Kenson Kazime, who is represented here today by Ms. Mary Wilfred, and Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyet, thank you for sharing us the role and inputs of your respective ministries that will together provide a strong coordinated national system in support of USAID programming for St. Lucia on youth crime and violence prevention. Ladies and gentlemen, I supported youth focus groups last December as part of fact-finding to really and truly inform the wiry St. Lucia work planning. Our young people are tired of not being included in influencing programs designed to benefit us and have little faith in existing youth serving systems. What excites me most about WIRI is its focus on the positive youth development approach. I note that all 3 CBSI programs are seeking to integrate and enhance youth as a part of a more assets-based approach, and USAID, or the ESC Youth Council, is also a testament to this. Madam Ambassador, Ms. Sarah Walter, thank you for this U.S. government investment in our sustainable development, that is OASIS, CARISecure 2.0, and WIRI. I also want to give special mention to the personnel of these USAID projects, who will be devoting their time and passion to these 3 projects over the next few years. Thank you. I also acknowledge and thank the representatives of the OACS Commission, UNDP, CARISecure 2.0, and Ms. Phelps Philly, Chief of Party, for WIRI, for Grenada, Guyana, and St. Lucia, for your dedication and commitment to effective implementation of OASIS, CARISecure 2.0, and WIRI respectively. A program such as this one needs other manifestations of guidance, light, and inspiration. I thank our co-chairs for the expert management of today's events. Pastor Travis Berans, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the Youth on Fire Movement. Later also we'll be hearing from Ms. Eva Stanislas and Mr. Yannick James, and also our panelist, Mr. Shazi Deriviere. I all thank you for your essential inputs today. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, members of the media, you have been a very receptive and engaging audience. I thank you also and invite you to remain inquisitive and constructively engaged in making a difference for a safer St. Lucia. Everyone benefits this way. I thank you.
I'll pretend I'm young and I'm going to wing this one on the fly. The Madam Chief Justice and the Acting Prime Minister may leave us, and if that is the case, we will stand and allow them to make the exit. If that is not the case, I invite you to 2 more wonderful performances involving young people here on St. Lucia. Madam Chief Justice, what is your ruling? You're leaving. You're leaving or you're staying with us, Madam Chief Justice? Yes. Madam Chief Justice, having dictated the protocol, I now yield to a higher power. At this point, I want to invite another young talent here on St. Lucia, Eva Stanislas. After you've seen the piece from Eva, we'll give you a little snippet as to her true potential and her ability. Eva Stanislas, ladies and gentlemen.
Youth resilience. There's a certain level of optimism and determination associated with youth, where even though silly mistakes are made, great ideas are nonetheless formulated. And it could be somewhat oxymoronic, to tell you the truth. But against all odds, we stand tall, even with our backs pressed against the wall. A bit defiant, not always doing what we're told, but we hear you, and once given the opportunity, you're sure to receive tenfold. Like the word youth should be synonymous with gold. Imagine this pandemic swept through our land, we were able to adapt to meet society's demand. Anxiety, grief, a lack of concentration on Google Meet and Zoom, kids balancing on one leg doing phys ed in the bedroom. Now, let's take things back to the classroom. Teaching technology is like ABC. We often hear parents say, he knows more than me, or my child is so tech savvy. Helping the older generation, we've forgotten to mention. young'uns stepping up, developing apps, a new invention. Like Hannah, who could trap ocean waves, converting it to electricity, or Shabam, who built a braille printer out of Lego parts for almost free. So you see, day by day, we are indeed creating history, whilst contributing to the development of a resilient future we can't foresee. Young farmers, entrepreneurs found in every community. More exports than imports. Can we make this a reality? Allow me to impress on you how climate change is real, and don't only listen because at nights it's getting so cold your fingertips you can't feel. Let's not wait for heat wave storms or high sea. Instead, let's channel our efforts to renewable energy. Then there's this low energy, because at times our optimism would turn to despair, emotions once intact exploding everywhere. But despite a multitude of setbacks, a positive word could get us back on the right track. Violence affecting youth left, right, and center. There's this urge to retaliate to protect oneself or family member. But imagine the beneficial effects of more counselors, youth workers, safe spaces, or perhaps a fully functioning youth rehabilitation center. The future is ours. The mantle will be ready to receive, but we need the guidance and for you to just believe. Too loud to quiet to young to green, I challenge you. Give us a seat at the table to expound at great length as to what we mean. Gwo koute piti koute gwo nuka toujours tan kilti se jewisyo. Mais passez toute l'essentiel pas seulement wilizyo puis c'est pas ça tout seul qui est pote. Pas oublier un pop a viwoma vive teglonet a bo éducation. Pour jewi a malewe c'est non l'âge pas l'âge. Protecter doit jeune mamai, doit pour yo bien kote, doit pour yo bien pote, doit pour yo sain et sauf. Moi des fois où banou chasla assise et pour défléchir, ça nous veut dire merci.
Thank you, Eva. And of course, thanks for the blending in of the Creole into your presentation. For those of you who didn't understand, I'm willing to give a verbatim translation. Just see me after. We're being told that the U.S. ambassador to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS needs to exit. Ambassador Linda Tagliatella needs to leave us, and so we will just allow the ambassador to do so. Please, Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. The ambassador has another engagement, and as a result, she has to move to her next assignment. Thank you again, Madam Ambassador. At this point, I want to again invite my co-chair, Krista Setange.
Once more, thank you, Eva. Your words challenged us to give youth a seat at the table. A little about Eva. So, 1 second. Okay. Eva Stanislas, a committed sports therapy and rehabilitation professional, youth advocate, gender and rights defender, and spoken word artist, and her original work was entitled Youth Resilience. So at this stage, it is my honor, my pleasure to have everybody experience the performance of Yannick James, a talented violinist from Grosley who has been performing for 25 years. Yannick holds a grade 8 violin practical certification from the Associated Board of Royal Schools of Music and hails from a family of musicians. Everybody, Yannick James.
what a beautiful note to end on. Reminds me of when I played the cello many moons ago. You know, we'll leave that there. At this point, we've come to the end of our launch activity for today. We thank you for spending some of your time with us. We know that you have things to do elsewhere. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you all so much. We have refreshments. Before you leave, please indulge yourself. Once again, thank you from your co-chairs. Have an amazing day.
And a big thank you to the Harbor Club for hosting us so beautifully. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.